Many Americans will be tuning in to see the candidates go off script, but what they may not know is that the event is highly choreographed by members of both major parties. The first debate will see the candidates answering questions about the economy, governance and healthcare. That means a number of topics might not even get a mention, from education to gun control to abortion. George Farrar is Executive Director of opendebates.org. He joins us now live from New York. So the candidates, they know what the topics are. We know what the topics are. It's highly choreographed. What kind of debate is this?
Well, this is a debate that is subject to extraordinary candidate control. The candidates meet several weeks before the presidential debates and hammer out an actual agreement. It's called a Memorandum of Understanding that dictates many of the provisions that will govern the actual presidential debates. So they sign off on who will be asking the questions. And in the past, they've actually included provisions in those contracts that prohibit the candidates from talking to each other, prohibit the asking of follow-up questions, essentially prohibit a lot of things that would get them off message and make them have to think on their feet and possibly make a mistake in front of tens of millions of voters.
So it makes you wonder who this debate is for. Is it for the candidates or for the public?
Precisely. You know, the reason for this extraordinary amount of candidate control is because of the organization that runs them. These presidential debates are hosted by an organization called the Commission on Presidential Debates. Sounds like a government agency. It sounds like some sort of nonpartisan entity. It's not. It's a private corporation primarily financed by Anheuser-Busch and other major companies, and it was created by the Republican and Democratic parties to seize control of the presidential debates from the League of Women Voters, which used to sponsor the debates and used to stand up to the candidates. And it's precisely because the commission has a monopoly over these critical election events that the candidates can exercise undue influence over our most important election events. So this is what we're seeing, the denigration of the...
Excuse me, jumping here, by major corporations. Does this mean we'll see no sort of anti-corporate regulation policy getting into the agenda?
You know, I think it's a bit much to suggest that because of corporate sponsorship, you're less likely to say some anti-corporate agenda in the debates. But I do not think it's a coincidence that Anheuser-Busch, Southwest Airlines, the International Bottled Water Association give substantial sums of money. Anheuser-Busch has given over $13 million to the commission since its inception in order to support the two major parties and to support a commission that keeps third parties out that are often highly critical of corporate power. In other words, when the League of Women Voters used to run these debates, they struggled to raise $5,000, $10,000 from major corporate donors because these events were not perceived as supporting the two parties. They were not perceived as being closely affiliated with the parties. So it makes sure that it's always a two-man race, doesn't it? Exactly. The fundamental intention of the Commission on Presidential Debates is to protect the two parties. The organization is co-chaired by the former chair of the Republican Party, who's also now the leading gambling lobbyist in the United States, and the former press secretary to President Bill Clinton, and also a lobbyist for the telecommunications industry. So you have two people in charge of our debates that are principally loyal to two parties and have demonstrated time and again a willingness to subjugate the interests of the American people in favor of private interest and political interest.
And you've got millions of Americans tuning in. This is the first of three, but I guess the network is the big winner here.
Yes, I mean, these are enormous. These are the most important political events in the United States of America. I mean, upwards of more than 70 million viewers will be watching. You know, tonight, though, there is something exciting. Due to the enormous pressure my organization and other organizations exerted on the Commission in 2004 and 2008, tonight actually features a rather unprecedented format. For the first time in history, after the candidates each have 2 minutes to answer a question, there's supposed to be 11 minutes of actual discussion. This has never happened before. So this is partially a victory for the debate reform movement, and it's an exciting precedent. We don't know if this will actually materialize, if we'll see real debate, because we don't know what the rules are governing these debates, because the contract that the candidates negotiated has been kept private. So until we see tonight's events, we really just don't know how restrictive the format will be.
Interesting getting your thoughts. George Farrar, thank you very much for talking to us.